Jagmeet assures all Canadians that there will be an election in 2025. But Jagmeet, really wants Trudeau to step down. He really, really wants him to resign. He must step down. But I'm not ready as Jagmeet to make it happen. We're waiting. We're waiting for Trudeau to do something. We're not going to force an election. Don't worry, guys. This is Marcel Ernie with the Canadian Journalist. Sorry about my terrible intro. Let's get into it. Jagmeet destroyed by the mainstream media just because he can't answer the question, and the question is repeated. Let's watch.
Parliament Hill, the House of Commons adjourned on Tuesday, but there are calls for the Prime Minister, continued calls for him to step aside.
I'm calling on Justin Trudeau to resign. He has to go.
We need to trigger an axe the tax election as soon as possible.
Mr. Trudeau's government is over.
So Trudeau spoke at the Liberal caucus holiday party last night. The Prime Minister saying there that the last couple of days have been not easy, that like most families, his party will find their way through it. The Conservatives and the Bloc are calling for an election. The party who is in a position to help trigger one with a vote of non-confidence is the NDP. So when can Canadians expect to head to the polls? Well, let's bring in NDP leader Jagmeet Singh. Welcome. Good to have you here.
Good to be here.
Listen, you say the Prime Minister has to resign. You said, in fact, that he has to go. He's already said he's not going to do that. And he's shown that very clearly over this last few weeks or the last few days. So how do you explain to Canadians that while you say you want him out, that he's not good for Canada, but you won't act on that and commit to a vote of non-confidence?
Well, everything's on the table, we've said, but it's been clear, given that we've got the threats of tariffs from Trump, that puts a lot of workers in Canada saying, will I lose my job? We know that people are having a really hard time buying groceries, just the basic essentials.
Sure.
And we got people that are saying, I can't find a home, my bills are up. Given all of that, we've got a Prime Minister that's more focused on fighting his own party than fighting for Canadians. It's clear that he's got to go.
Right. But you're the one who can make that happen. So why not commit to a vote that would see an election in this country?
Well, I've said that everything's on the table. So all options are on the table. But
So he must go. People can't afford food. People can't afford rent or housing. People can't afford the inflation brought on by the money printing, by the massive debt. It'll balance itself, Glenn. Interest rates are at historic all-time lows. Remember that? So Jagmeet's going on. Times are tough for everybody, except for him, of course. Times are really tough for Canadians. Trudeau must go. Okay, so why don't you kick him out with an election? Well, all options are on the table. And all options have been on the table forever. We've been talking about this for over a year. All the options on the table.
focus on right now is saying he's got to go. We'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks.
You know, you're talking about Canadians being concerned about affordability, but the most recent polls show that most of them want an election. So if you have the power to make that happen for Canadians, and you're acting in the best interest of Canadians, isn't that what they actually want?
Well, there's going to be an election this year, 2025.
Sure,
next
but
year.
October is the scheduled date. That's a long way off.
It could happen any time in 2025. We're in a minority government, so we'll keep all options open. But let's be
So an election can happen anytime in 2025 before the October scheduled election if you do a vote of non-confidence. All options are on the table. All options are on the table, but we're not going to do it. Why? Why are you not going to do it? All the 40% of Canadians already said they're going to vote in Poilievre. They want a new government. Why won't you do it, Jagmeet? What is your real goal? Are you really for Canadians or for yourself?
clear. There's going to be an election in 2025. Absolutely guaranteed there will be an election. And people will have a tough choice to make. And I just wanted to say to folks out there who are worried about Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives, worried about the cuts, worried that he's going to cut their childcare, their pensions, healthcare, make things way more expensive. For those folks, I want to invite you. We have shown that when we come together, when we organize, when we fight, we can win. So I want to invite people to join us, the NDP.
You know, you've talked about
First of all, Poilievre hasn't spoken about cutting any of this. He's been talking about cutting the government bloat, the CBC, all this bullshit money that's been into, your ideologies. They're just useless. Here's money for, the road show, going to all the libraries, right? Like wasted money for, Ukraine, of course, conservatives are supporting that too because they're fake conservatives. But let's continue with this Jagmeet.
the Conservatives and what they can do, but they are 20 points ahead. You and the Liberals are sitting further back from that. So wouldn't it say to me that what Canadians want is a chance to elect a new government? And you can make that happen. Listen, Peter Julian told CBC News that this could happen in the spring. But why wait? What are you waiting for?
Well, I'm not going to speculate on when it's going to happen. What I am committing to is that in this election, I want folks to know they have a real choice. Even though I know it's a big mountain to climb.
An election before they can make a choice.
There will be an election. There's going to be an election in 2025.
Even kids in high school know there's going to be an election, Jagmeet. I'm not going to speculate on when there's an election. You don't need to speculate. You could set it off before Christmas. You just have to do it. Oh man, he just loves this power position he's in, controlling Canadians, controlling when the election happens, because he knows he's out of a job. He won't even have a seat. He won't have his gold watch pension where he gets his millions of dollars paid over the next few years. That's what it comes down to. I hope she just asks him, was like, so when do you exactly have to be in your seat before your pension gets upgraded?
But what people have to know is that if things are bad now, things will be even worse under Pierre Poilievre. And I want to make sure people know the cost. And I don't think people know the cost. Like, he's going to cut childcare. That could be $8,000 more a year for families. He wants to cut the child benefit. That's $600 a month that he wants to cut. He wants to cut pensions like Harper did. Pensions for seniors who are already struggling, who already tell me they can't afford their groceries. How are they going to make it by if their pensions are cut? When people are confronted with this, say, you know what? I don't want to vote for a guy who's going to cut my pensions. I'd actually think about that. I don't want to vote for a guy who's going to cut healthcare at a time when I can barely get the care I need right now.
But why won't you commit to voting non-confidence?
There's going to be an election this year.
I know there's going to be an election. Canadians know it's coming in October.
Come.
It
Yeah.
could be sooner in the spring, but you're the one who can make that happen. So why not commit to making it happen?
It's going to happen. There's nothing to, we don't have to commit to anything. It's
Well,
going to
why
happen.
not make it happen sooner? So they come back on the 27th, a week after Trump is in office. The tariffs could be in place by January 21st. Don't Canadians deserve the right to choose a different government sooner rather than later?
Well, I'm going to look at what's in the best interest of Canadians. If there's a vote on the table about retaliatory tariffs to fight back against Trump versus calling an election in the midst of threats to hundreds of thousands of jobs, I want to make a decision that's in the best interest of Canadians. I'm not going to speculate on what that decision is now, but I can tell you.
What I can tell you as being Jagmeet is I care more about what I want than what Canadians want. Jagmeet prefers the Liberals in power versus the Conservatives because it only comes down to then he still has a job. That's what it comes down to.
But I am saying right now, Trump is a real threat. People are worried about their jobs. Trudeau has to go.
Yeah.
I'm not going to speculate about what's going to happen months from now. When that happens, I'll make a decision.
But it's not speculation because you're the one who can tip the power in a non-confidence
Well, speculation
vote.
about what's in the best interest of Canadians. 2 months from now.
They're saying an election is in our best
But we
interest.
don't know what's going to happen a month from now. We don't know what we're confronted with.
What a dog meat. Jesus. We don't know what's going to happen. It's like you're at the sign. Do I take the left or do I take a right? Well, we don't know what's going to happen, but I can take a right or a left, but we don't know what's going to happen. Sorry, we just don't know what's going to happen. Left or right, left or right, left or right, left or right. You can't hit the meridian in the center. Oh.
What I can say right now is there's going to be an election in 2025. That is guaranteed. And in that election, I'm fighting and running to become prime minister. And people have an important choice. I hear again and again from...
He's fighting to be prime minister? Oh my God, Tina, look at what the cat's doing. He's playing with the Christmas tree. Oh my God, Jagmeet. This guy is an insufferable tool, just like Trudeau. Oh, it's so frustrating. And thank God the CTV is now finally starting to turn on these Jagmeets. You know, asking him the same question 5 times. There's going to be an election.
People, they're not going to give the Liberals another shot. So they got the Conservatives. And they got me. And I need to define that choice. Well, what's that choice? Well, Pierre Poilievre is going to cut, and that's going to cost you. It's going to cost families. It's going to hurt families. And New Democrats, we want to defend the things that we have. We want to make sure you can afford childcare. We want to make sure you can get a good doctor. You can get healthcare when you need it.
I'm just confused why you won't commit. And you say you don't want to do speculation, but I don't understand the why. What's the downside of you not saying, you know what, this government, repeating what you've said, which is this government has to go.
Yeah.
He needs to be gone. Canadians need a choice. They want to have a choice. You can make that happen? I don't understand the downside for you.
Why would I box myself in and say I'm going to do something definitive?
Bam! He just said it. See, he's boxing himself in right now in this interview because he doesn't have any answers. Why would I box myself in and make it impossible for me to continue working for the government? Why would I box myself in? That's the quote of this video. Jagmeet Singh, why would I box myself in and lose my job? Piece of shit.
When we
Because
don't know what's
Canadians
gonna
are saying
happen?
that's what we want.
No, we're going to wait and see what happens, right? We're going to make sure there's
No, we're going to wait and see what happens so I keep my job longer, get my pension. It's what I want. It's not what Canadians want. Fuck you, Canadians. Fuck you. Yeah, fuck you. I want to stay in office. It's what I want. Yes. What a Jagmeet.
we know exactly
It's a new word in the dictionary. You're a Jagmeet.
what's going on. When something is in front of me, when there's a vote in front of me, I'll make a decision. But what I can tell you is that
When there's a vote in front of me, I'll make a decision, and he's the one that can make the decision for the vote. The irony is so crazy, guys. I'm sorry. I just can't stop. This is so terrible watching this. Jagmeet.
there's going to be an election and people need to know what's at stake. I want to take on the greedy CEOs that are ripping you off and driving up the cost of your groceries and your home.
So he's talking about taking on himself. You know what? And everything would be more affordable if you stopped printing money. If you stopped giving away all the Canadian money.
Pierre Poilievre wants to let those greedy CEOs rip you off even more. If you're struggling at the groceries right now, imagine Pierre Poilievre who lets his corporate buddies rip you off even more. Or imagine New Democrats who say, let's put in a price cap on your food essentials. We know that big corporations are buying up affordable homes. I want to ban them from doing that. Pierre Poilievre wants to let them do anything that they want, rip you off as much as they want.
Given the amount of times you have said all of those things, both in front of microphones, to cameras, to Canadians, I think they already know. I think that you've laid it out pretty clearly for them what their choices will be. What I don't understand still is, to quote Gwen Stefani, what you waiting for? Like, what's the holdup? Why wouldn't you just trigger an election? Are you not ready? Is your party not ready for an
We're
election?
absolutely ready, but I'm not going to speculate about when that's going to happen. I'm not going to be a pundit and talk about election dates. What I'm going to talk about is
No,
what
you're
I'm
a
going to do for
leader.
people.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, but I'm not going to speculate. I don't know what the votes are going to be. I don't know what they're going to be presenting us. So I'm not going to box myself in.
Because he's not a leader. He's not a leader at all. What a Jagmeet. What a Jagmeet.
But what I can tell people is there will be an election in 2025.
Sure.
And I'm ready to fight it. And people have an important choice to make.
You've said on this program and many times before, this will be a case-by-case basis. What's the case that would see you continue to support them?
Well, like I said, I don't want to speculate on it. But if we've got
Well,
scenarios
what still
where
do you need from them? I get what you were getting before from the supply and confidence agreement, dental care, pharmacare, but what do you still need from them that would garner your support and confidence
Well,
in the government?
here's a concrete scenario. We've got Trump coming in at the end of January, and he's going to impose tariffs. Do we vote on retaliatory tariffs to say, no, we're not going to take that. We're going to fight back, but it's going to cost you. If you think that you can put tariffs on us and get away with no harm, it's going to hurt you. It's going to cost Americans. It's going to raise the cost of items in America. So we've got a choice between a vote on retaliatory tariffs or triggering an election. And what's in the best interest of the Canadians? What's in the best interest of hundreds of thousands of workers who say, well, I don't want my jobs to be at risk. I want you to fight back and protect my jobs. I don't know what's going to happen. And so that's why I'm not going to speculate. But what I am going to say is there's going to be an election. And in that election, people will have.
What a Jagmeet. She's asked a very good question. What else do you want out of Trudeau? What else can you get? You had your little coalition. You ripped it up. You got a couple bullshit things to waste more money, to have more inflation. What do you want? And he's like, I'm not going to speculate. There will be an election. That's all he pretty much says. He is such a freaking Jagmeet, and he's taking Canada down till he gets his pension, clearly. And he clearly doesn't want a conservative government. He would rather keep Canadians suffering. He would rather you and I and her and the cats be suffering with the price of cat food at the stores and the price of fuel to get to the stores and the price to heat your home with the fire and the gas and the everything. Just ridiculous. What is going on here? He's just a Jagmeet insufferable fool. What do you guys think in the comments as we finish this up?
That choice. You Democrats who want to bring down the cost of your groceries,
Yeah.
want to build homes that you can afford. Conservatives want to let CEOs rip you off even more. That's an important choice.
Last question. Given the mess that we're in right now, what we've seen happen, reading that letter, do you regret not bringing down this government sooner?
No, no regrets. What I'm focused on is we've delivered for people. We brought in dental care. We brought in pharmacare. A million people in Canada have been able to go to the dentist and fix their teeth because we fought to make that happen.
And 1 million people went to the dentist thinking it was free, right? Right, Tina? And then they came out of the dentist and it's like, hey, well, you still have a bill. And they're like, what? I wouldn't have done this free. The only reason I went to the dentist was because Trudeau was paying for it. What do you mean I have a bill of like $100 or $200? No, it was just partially subsidized. Well, I would have never gone to the dentist if I had a bill. I can't afford this. This is what actually happens. Let alone the paperwork to figure out how to get that discount. It's just a freaking Trudeau discount at the Liberal NDP. I'm not going to speculate when there's an election, but there will be an election in October. But I'm not going to speculate. So what are you running for? Well, we're running for the people of non-speculation about there will be a. Are you ready to run? Well, of course we're ready to run. Well, then why don't you run? Well, because we're not going to speculate. We're going to wait and see if we're in a better position at an election at a later time for the NDP. And the NDP is going down with the Liberals. They are one and the same. And unfortunately, the Conservatives aren't really the real Conservatives. So you need to learn about the PPC's party, who actually has a party that doesn't send money to Ukraine, that doesn't support the ideology, this wokeism ideology. Unfortunately, the Conservatives, which will win, of course, are still supporting these wars in Ukraine and the woke ideology. They didn't support like the Freedom Convoy until it's in front of the mainstream. They just change as they go to get the votes. But yes, it's going to help the economics. The XL pipeline, all these things are going to be good. We're going to cut all the bloatware, which is great with the fake conservatives, Pierre Poilievre. But people still need to understand that we still will have not exactly what we want. This is Marcel with the Canadian Journalist, Ernie Racing News.
So we're going to keep on fighting for people.
A lot of people would say those two boxes are checked. Time for you to act on what you've been saying all along, that it's time for Trudeau to go.
There's going to be an election.
I know that there is. All right, even grade 11 civics classes know that there's going to be an election.
So
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, thank you for coming in today.
Oh, she burns them at the end. Even grade 11 civics class kids know that there's going to be an election at the end of 2025. Jagmeet is the Jagmeet. Over and out.